If you're like most women, you're longing for a touch of elegance and grace in your life, but all of these mundane activities are holding you back from it. And you know what? Sometimes you might just feel like you just need something different. Like something's got to change. I need a more elevated way of life. And you see yourself in a more elevated way, but it's kind of a struggle to get there. Have you ever felt overwhelmed by the desire for sophistication, but yet you don't even know where to start? Do you struggle to integrate elegance into your busy lifestyle? Is this is the concept of living a cultured, polished life appealing, but it really seems out of reach? Like this is could just not be for you. Well, I'm telling you that it is. Welcome, sophisticates. I'm Davina Dandridge, here to guide you on a transformative journey. And this journey is one to elegance and sophistication. Today, we are using emotional intelligence and a dash of creativity to elevate your life to new heights of sophistication. There was a time when I too grappled with these same challenges. How am I going to live a more elevated life? How am I going to be more sophisticated, that person that I really wanted to be? And I wanted to be received that way as who I am. And, I have been thought to be bougie growing up because I did like things that were a little bit different from the people that I was around, whether it was music or art or a way of dressing or even liking art and certain types of foods in my neighborhood. I was different. And even growing up and in my adulthood, I've been called bougie for whatever reason. And it's, people don't even know me and they still do that. I just want to be received as who I am. And I'm sure you do too. So it's about what's inside, and it's not about how people assume that you are by appearances, but we're going to talk about appearances as well as what's going on the inside. What's going on with your thinking? I remember feeling out of place at times, despite my desire for wanting to have a life and be perceived as a person of grace and style. I still felt out of place because it is about a mindset first, a way of thinking first, before it can translate into an outward appearance and that ones that other people can accept. My journey wasn't about just changing my wardrobe or, trying to change the taste of the things that I wanted. It was about embracing how I felt about myself. It was about making sure how I feel about myself, even right now, is aligned with my true desires because it leads to a lot of things. And I'm going to explain. Okay. The first thing that I want you to know, and this isn't one of my points, but the first thing that I want you to know is that you have to become the person that you want to be in your future. You're not already the person that you want to be, meaning that you have these dreams of and aspirations about the types of relationships that you want, how you want to progress in your career, or the things that you want to be surrounded by in your life. But the reason that you don't have them right now is because you're not yet the person who can have that, develop that, or maintain that lifestyle. And I'm not bashing anybody because there have been times in my life that I haven't been the person that I wanted to be until I grew to become that person. So let me explain. In my career and in my life, I can pinpoint instances where I made a not only mental and emotional plan, but a physical appearance plan to get to where I wanted to go, to change who I was, to get to be the person that I wanted to be, to do that next thing. So, for instance, one of my first professional careers outside of the family business and outside of radio and television was as a customer service representative. Then my next position was as a community liaison. So that was a beef up. I was out in the community. The next position was as a professor. Now, this is something that I have wanted and desired to do. So, as a customer service representative, my style really didn't matter. I just had to follow the guidelines for what was acceptable for my company and then follow the script for the work that I did. Everything was already laid out for me. I didn't have to rely on my own mental power, so to speak, in order to achieve success at that job. Well, the next level was as a community liaison. So we're talking about elegance and sophistication. Here starts the development of an opportunity for me to really be memorable, to showcase the things that I've learned in a sophisticated and elegant way to make a difference. So, as a community liaison, I'm representing the company that I work for out in the community. So, whatever I'm selling, whatever I'm trying to connect with, I am the representative. They see me first. They don't even know who I work for without meeting me, right? So I had to be memorable. So that started me dressing a different way than the way that I did as a customer service rep, because now how I'm perceived visually impacts the success in my job. I had to follow some guidelines, but I could still have a little bit of fluidity in how I communicated with people, what they knew about me, and how I appeared. The next level, and this is the most important one, and this is where I sit right now, is as a college professor or someone sharing an idea that is unique, that I am given the opportunity to put the stink on it, to make it relevant, to make someone even want to know any more about why they're there. So in the classroom is very important for the subjects that I was teaching, because a lot of students didn't feel like they had to know art history in order to do whatever their major was, not understanding that they do need that to be a well-rounded person, as we're going to talk about, because that has to do with elegance and sophistication, not just knowing art history, but expanding your knowledge outside of what you think you need to know. And that might be another video for another time. But as a professor, I was sharing my unique perspective. So I had to first grab the students' attention before they would even listen or find value in what I am talking about. And so I was able then, as a professor, because the guidelines weren't as stringent, be able to express myself more in my outfits, be able to involve more of my own personality in the work that I do. And it was important because I was becoming influential, because I am tasked with influencing students to view art or whatever I'm teaching from my unique perspective. So I've always had my own sense of style, and sometimes it was called too colorful. And then for myself, I always thought it was too conservative, but some people thought it might not have been conservative enough. So it's not just about me. It's about how you show up in rooms and how you add to your credibility by showing up appropriately dressed, and I say elevated and elegant. The point that I'm making is I had to envision myself as the person I wanted to become. So the trappings that go along with that are important. So if you want to go somewhere as your future self, find out what the people who are already doing that thing are doing. Where do they go? What do they read? How do they dress? How do they talk? How do they show up? And I'm not talking about being something inauthentic. I'm talking about being real, but being real and being appropriate has to do with elegance and sophistication. So elegance is more than just an aesthetic appeal. Aesthetic, I like that word, aesthetic. It's more than just about whether you're in your soft era or whether you're in your classic era. All that's a bunch of whatever, because trends change, but self-expression is real. Okay, so it's an expression of inner beauty when you're elegant, and it's an expression of your confidence when you can do the things or express yourself in the way that you want. It's a matter of confidence. And sophistication isn't just about having book knowledge or knowing a lot of things. It's about cultivating a life that's enriched with experiences and enriched with wisdom. Because the lessons we learn from mastering our emotions and using emotional intelligence as a tool, they are used to curate the life that you desire. And taking time to reflect on the past and celebrate your wins, that's how sophistication develops, because you learn things from your past. Every situation you're in, every conflict you're in, every hurdle that you've overcome, every traumatic instance in your life that you've survived or that you've helped someone else get through adds to your sophistication, because that's wisdom. Our life experiences give us wisdom. An elegant woman possesses the resilience to navigate through emotional challenges. We don't get stuck. And an elegant woman doesn't let you see her get outside of her square. Even at times where she has to be the strongest, even at times where she knows she wants to go off. Ooh, listen, I battle that quite often. Being quiet is just as important as knowing what to say. Okay. So resilience enables an elegant woman to face her ups and downs and do it with grace. And that turns potential weakness into strength. If you can operate in a bad time with grace and sophistication, you get emboldened to do more things, to get outside the box. You are not worried about what someone says or how someone perceives you negatively because you have strength and confidence. You can transform difficult situations into opportunities of growth and self improvement. You communicate assertively. I mean, you don't have to go around cursing people out and being loud and demanding, but you can use a blend of honesty and respect in your communication. And I'm telling you, that gets the job done. And if you have challenges with vulnerability or you have a fear of being victimized, I get that. Vulnerability is a characteristic that you have to work up to, especially if you've been through some things or if people have taken advantage of you in the past. But don't let that keep you from having a voice. And a lot of times when we have been hurt in our past and we are triggered by a certain response, we have a certain response to a trigger, we can sometimes lose our voice. And that's just a lack of self confidence. But when you master emotional intelligence and you start becoming able to handle those triggers in a more defined way, you plan your response to those triggers or how to handle those triggers, then you can speak up for yourself. And you do it with empowerment. The third attribute of an elegant woman is having self confidence. And I can't say that enough. But the self confidence doesn't come from the clothes. The self confidence comes from the self awareness. And I mean deep self awareness. An elegant woman works on herself. You don't just go about life saying, well, if that's how I feel, I'm just going to operate like that. It hasn't failed me before. But maybe it has. You just didn't know because you haven't taken the time to look at how your behavior impacts the people around you or impacts your thinking or impacts your surroundings. Why are you in this jam? Why are you not living the life that you want to live? But you're stuck constantly in this emotional up and down because you haven't learned to manage your emotions, starting with deep self awareness. This is essential, especially for women when we take on a lot of other people's concerns. We're always concerned about what's going on with our children, how are our children feeling, what's going on with our mate, how's our mate doing, what's going on with, our parents or at work, or even with the battle of keeping the house clean. That was always my Achilles heel, comparing my housekeeping skills to somebody else's, and they have tons more time to do than what I did, or they were more diligent at organization than I was or am. And that's just based on a different type of upbringing. But for women, we really need to become introspective so we can handle these emotions, so we can not just be beholden to what everyone else's whims and needs are, but we can address those needs, but we prioritize ours and we don't look at it as being selfish. It is very necessary for you to manage your emotions because women often grapple with self doubt, and we can develop a skewed perception of our self worth because we haven't given ourselves enough time to be introspective or do self care. So, you want to do self care, but the self care doesn't matter if you haven't taken the time to work on your emotions. Then, self care, yeah, you might need a break, but what is it really doing? Self awareness leads to an understanding of the true value and of your capabilities, and it fosters a confident demeanor. And when you have a confident demeanor, you're not easily shaken by what somebody's opinions are or some circumstance that just happens to come up, you know that you can handle it because this inner confidence radiates outwardly. It's not just inside. Once you develop the right thinking, then it again, handling your emotions impacts your thinking impacts your behavior, and your behavior impacts your environment. So it can't help but radiate outwardly. So once you develop that sense of self-confidence inside, then it's going to spread to your thinking, the way that you behave, and then your environment, and it contributes to a poised and sophisticated presence for yourself. And it does trickle down to your kids. I remember going to a parent teacher conference when Morgan was in the 7th or 8th grade. And this teacher had never met me, and it was her first semester with Morgan. And as soon as we came in and we greeted, she's like, "Oh, well, now I see why she's so poised." So listen, it's not just about you, is it? Girl, no, it's about everything that you touch. Okay. The other thing is that you only get one time to make a first impression. So, how you show up with confidence, with a certain type of attitude, or if your appearance is appropriate, all of that is important to being an elegant person. The freedom of expression gives you the freedom to think outside the box. Okay. So, how you express yourself in your appearance, if that's going to build your confidence, and then it's going to go into other areas. You'll start thinking differently once you start gathering more information because now you want to be elevated. You want to seek out more information so you can become more sophisticated. You like the feeling of being respected. You like the feeling of hearing your voice being worth something. You like having self worth and not settling for things just because that's what's given to you, but you are curating the life that you desire because you are becoming the person who is going to live in that beautiful environment and have those beautiful trappings and be able to work in a manner that pleases you and works for you so that you will have life fulfillment. Oh my goodness, it all just ties together. You know that, right? So the point is to know where you're going, and that takes contemplation. Who's going to be there when you get there? That's what you're setting up as well. And how should you show up to best represent who you are and what you want out of life? You can imagine a life where every day it's a harmonious blend of beauty and intelligence. Like I have all the stuff around me that I like. I'm not in these senseless, useless arguments about things that don't even matter. I'm not on social media battling somebody because I don't like what they posted. You know, harmonious blend of beauty and intelligence. You are curious. You want more information. You want to do more. You want to have wonderful experiences. Can you imagine a life where your interactions are not just conversations, but they're cultivated exchanges that enrich your soul? Have you ever just met somebody at a coffee shop, or you're making a transaction somewhere and you just strike up a conversation and the conversation is a real good one? You go away with something. You feel like you had a dialogue with someone and you were contributing and they were contributing. It was about something meaningful and you feel motivated or inspired to do something or to have a different experience. You have more of those. Why wouldn't you want more of those type of exchanges? But it starts with you. So cultivating a life of sophisticating empowerment starts with becoming an emotional planner. Emotional planner does more than just address bad emotional triggers. See, that's where we haven't gotten yet. I said we haven't gotten. That's where we haven't gone yet. It's not just about addressing those triggers that have you cursing or have you stuck. Being an emotional planner, you're a person who also plans for the emotions and feelings that you desire, the things that are good. Feelings like curiosity and joy and happiness, tranquility and fulfillment are all developed by emotional planning. So just like you make a plan for those things that send you off, make a plan for those things that feel good. You can do that. Like maybe you enjoy taking a 5 minute walk, but it's really hard for you to do that because, at work, you can't leave the desk. You only have 25 minutes for lunch, or you're always in meetings, or maybe when you get home, you have so many responsibilities that it's hard for you to get that walk. But look, plan it. There are 24 hours in a day. A 5 minute walk is just what, 5 minutes. So the most you have to do is let people know, hey, I'm not going to be available for the next 10 minutes. Give yourself some time. I'm not going to be available for the next 10 minutes. Don't call me or text me. I'll be right back. And you go for that walk and you make it a priority to get that feeling. If that walk does it for you, it juice you up, then you make a plan to do that. You do it for you. Okay. And the first step as an emotional planning is deciding which emotions you want to be synonymous with your future self. Your future starts in the next minute. So when people talk about the future, sometimes people are looking like, well, I don't know what I'm going to be doing 10 years down the line. I'm not talking 10 years. I'm talking the next hour, the next week, 6 months, 2 years. You can decide the emotions that you want synonymous with your future self. What activities do you want synonymous with your future self? The people, the surroundings that give you those feelings that you love, and then plan how to get more of those feelings in your life. So, the impact of elegance and sophistication touches each of us in these ways. The first way is you have cultivated relationships. You form bonds that are not just emotionally fulfilling, but they're intellectually stimulating. Like that conversation you just had on a whim with somebody that motivated you to do something. Have more of them. I have developed friendships with people that I have those conversations with, like, hey, can we exchange numbers? Do you want to meet for coffee? You want to have more of those exchanges. And, sometimes pride is what holds you back from extending yourself to friendships with people who you might not have friendships with. But look, put pride down. We can talk about how to do that too. Okay. The second way that elegance and sophistication impacts your life is professional poise. I alluded to that earlier, but if you have professional poise, you navigate your career with confidence. You showcase your refined abilities. And the benefit that I've found with being elegant and sophisticated in the work environment is that you don't get micromanaged. And I mean, you have to know what you're supposed to be doing, but at the same time, you're able to share your ideas and be given opportunities to showcase what you can really do. Okay. And the third one, and I love this term, aesthetic wellness is a benefit of or impact of elegance and sophistication. So you can surround yourself with beauty that uplifts your spirit and nurtures your well being. That's that environment I was talking about. So whether it's a closet, whether it's a whole room, whether it's a house, whether it's just going to your favorite restaurant, some place that gives you a good sense and feeling just by the sheer beauty. I love going to the museum. When I think about my future self, I'm thinking about more instances of that type of enjoyment and more instances of enjoyment with things with my family, or maybe getting in shape, or maybe just being able to have free time. Those are feelings that I enjoy. And if I want more of them, I start right now by becoming the person that I want to be in the future. I don't wait until all the ducks are in a row to try to get some free time. Ducks may not get in a row, right? So your future self depends on you first identifying what it is that you want and then starting to develop or cultivate that type of lifestyle. I'm not my future self. And that future self doesn't just end when I do or achieve one achievement. My future self is always going to grow because I have developed a curiosity for wanting to experience new things in life. And then I want to share them with the people that I love. So if we go back 5 years ago and we look at how I was planning or what I desired or what I wanted to do to be fulfilled, I was planning for the person that I am right now. Literally, I can go back to a vision board that I did in 2017, and I can check things off that vision board because I started, first of all, by a thought of what I wanted. Then I took action to become the person. And so that starts internally by managing my emotion, addressing the triggers that have prohibited me from maybe taking some type of action in the past. But now that I've addressed it, that's no longer an issue for me, or I've managed it in a certain way. So it's up to me, right? It was up to me to do the things to become the person so I can live the lifestyle that I want to live now. And really, it is a lifestyle. So, for the lifestyle that I want to live in the next 6 months, or the next 2 years, or the next 10 years, it all starts right now. I'm telling you, if you don't start right now developing a sense of elegance and sophistication about yourself for your future self, then you are going to be where you are right now. How can you expect to progress if you don't manage your emotions? You let the same things trip you up over and over again. You're not seeking help or advice from anyone to get better at this. You're not even really being honest with yourself about how you respond to things. You think you're okay just because no one says anything to you. Maybe they're afraid, or maybe you're just that delicate that no one has the gumption to really tell you about who you are. But you don't necessarily need someone to tell you who you are. You know who you are. You know good behavior from bad behavior, right? So you have to plan for the person that you want to become so you can have the surroundings, the things, the activities, the experiences that you want to have. Listen, I've worked on the way that I think. I've worked on the way that I think. I worked on the activities. I worked on the environment that I'm in, including the type and way that I work and including my appearances. Again, somebody could think once they know you that you are competent, you're a great communicator, you're funny, you're the best person for the job, you make friends easily, and you're the person they want to be around. But if you're outside isn't together, clean, neat, like you took that extra effort to elevate, then the elegance and sophistication that you're seeking for, you might not get because while it might not be right and it might not be what people want to hear all the time, you are summed up, judged by your appearance. So here's a quote from one of my favorite people. And this is Rachel Zoe. And if you don't know who Rachel Zoe is, she was a stylist that she came out with her own clothing line. She had a television show on E, I believe, back in 2010. And her style is exactly my aesthetic. Okay. So Rachel Zoe is someone that I would listen to as far as style is concerned. Well, here's a quote that's very apropos. She says, style is a way to say who you are without having to speak. And I totally agree because you want to be memorable in your appearance, but it's not just about the garments that you wear because as we know, people can buy brands, people can buy bags, and people can buy shoes. That doesn't make them elegant or sophisticated. It also doesn't make them memorable. So it's the combination of all of it so that you can get the doors open that you wanted, so that you can become the credible person that you are, and so that you can have the voice that you want to have. Elegance and sophistication, along with emotional intelligence, is the way to do it. So, I love Rachel Zoe, but the Bible also has a scripture that fits just perfectly. And if you're familiar with the Proverbs 31 woman, then you know exactly what I'm talking about. But she understands how elegance and grace apply to sophistication and apply to you being the type of person who can do the thing that you want to do. It says in Proverbs 31, verse 25, strength and honor are her clothing, and she shall rejoice in time to come. Strength and honor, resilience, integrity, how you show up in the room, how you speak, whether you curse people out, whether you have a bad or negative attitude, whether you really try to help people and lift people up, whether you actually have something valuable to contribute to conversations or you just blowing hot air, whether you fake, whether you real, whether you keep it 100, whether you do it with tact, poise, and dignity, and whether you know which fork to use or when to clap at a concert, all those things matter. Because what Proverbs 31 tells us is that a woman's real grace and sophistication come from her strength and honor. It's about her confidence. When you wear confidence and integrity as an outfit, you're setting yourself up for happiness, for success in the future. This verse really captures the heart of what it means to be emotionally and elegantly empowered. Remember, sophistication is an art, a way of living that you curate. And as time goes on, you'll be able to get better and better at curating this life and environment that you want because the finesse of it grows over time. It's about balancing your emotions with your dreams and paving the way for a life that is both fulfilling and beautiful. Who doesn't want that, right? So dive deeper into this transformative journey with my book, Brains and Baubles Do What Works for You. Explore more on my website and subscribe for exclusive insights into cultivating a life of elegance and empowerment. Your sophisticated future is just a click away.